gym or you're running, you got to run those wires underneath your shirt or behind your shirt or clip them on, and they're always getting in the way. You're lifting weights and they're getting caught in the weights and pulling the earbuds out of your ear, and you're sitting there kind of tethered, right? You're tethered from the wires that run from your device, player, smartphone device, up to you. I was actually in the gym, and very much like this woman here running, the smartphone she had, though, was in that little pocket that you see on the treadmill. And so she's running along, and of course somebody comes up to her on the right side and says, "Hey, Natalie." And so she turns around, and guess what happens? If you can see where that smartphone ended up, it actually dropped off the treadmill, got caught up in the rubber mat that spins around, totally crushed it. So, you're tied to your devices, right? Why not have the freedom to be able to move around and freedom of motion and get the information you want without any kind of distraction, so you can keep the focus on what you're doing? And are we really evolving? I mean, from the big devices and little earphones to those big fashion statement earphones, is that really the next generation of earphones? We think Wavz are the smart earphones with built-in fitness monitoring. Pulls it all in one and gives you that convenience of being able to get what you want out of your workout. So let me tell you a little bit about the benefits of Wavz. One, you get the fitness metrics without distraction, without the need to look at or button through a device that might be strapped to your body, or wait until after the workout to download the information. You don't have any annoying wires to deal with. We've eliminated all the wires. The Bluetooth from source device to the earphone and from ear to ear. So absolutely no wires or bands. There's others that call themselves wireless. That means less wires. You still have those wires or bands catching in your ear, catching in your clothes. We've eliminated all that. We've got a perfect fit designed by an ear, nose, and throat doctor for the anatomical fit around the ear. It stays in place, so you don't have that annoyance of earphones constantly dropping out. And while we don't have too many polar bears around here, people obviously, when they're out running or biking especially, need to stay aware of their surroundings, approaching cars. So we've got the ability to adjust the listen through so you can mix music and what you hear around you and do it independently ear by ear. So if you're biking, you want to keep your left ear more open to traffic. You can fade music to the background, go 25% music, 75% listen through. And being a microcomputer for the ears, basically, it opens up a world of opportunities for new applications in areas like education, healthcare, first responders, military that now have to, or the police that have to actually listen to the radio, be aware of their surroundings. If they can get the information privately and still be aware of the surroundings, it makes them more effective, and they can more discreetly handle the information they receive. So this market, the fitness market, is exploding. Everybody's reading about it. Big thing at CES in Las Vegas, the electronic show that happens every year. It is the hot area. What you see in orange there is probably the lowest forecast I've seen of where that market is expected to go. You see that Credit Suisse says $30 to $50 billion market in the next 5 years. So how about the ear part of that, the hearable technology? Many are saying that's the natural way to receive information, as opposed to Google Glass with the safety and security and visual distraction associated with it. Why not have it on your ears so it's fed to you audibly and you can still keep your focus on what you're doing? That market is expected to be at least a $5 billion market. Does anybody know a player out there right now that's got an ear wearable fitness device on the market? Anybody have one or have seen one? It's pretty much a virgin market. And if you look at the players out there, we hit a lot of those green dots in terms of being a built-in fitness monitoring, being completely wire-free, the ability to listen through, have those separate microphones so be able to communicate by voice with your device, so it's a Bluetooth headset as well, and it's got air safeguards built in. We don't have an MP3, and there's a reason we don't have an MP3, is because we did a study. Actually, we went out to UCF, and they did a study for us, and up to 97% of the people responded said, no, I'm going to have my phone with me. I don't really want to manage another playlist and have separate MP3. So we went with the fitness side of it instead of building an MP3, which was kind of our pivot along the way. So where can we go with this? As a communication device on the ears, there's a lot of things you can do. We've got a processor built in. It can learn and adapt to your behavior. So when your heart rate gets to a certain level, it can automatically adjust to a different playlist, just as one example. You can do language translation. Think about the opportunity to take one of them off and put it on somebody else's ear who might be speaking Spanish, you're speaking English, and you're each being translated real time both ways. You can do directional enhancement. With two microphones, we actually have the ability to to get directional signals and amplify that so you can hear better than you would with the naked ear. And then be able to just find information, museum, directions, the local restaurant, all that can be done by voice command. So we've got a great team we pulled together. Sorry, a lot of information on here. But this team has done a lot of, the doctor is up there, he's the founder and inventor of this. We've got chief technologists that have been behind this, who have done the startup businesses. They've produced over 200 wireless products. So we've accumulated a great team and a great team of advisors who have been in the industry. And I just want to leave you with the exciting part of where we are. We're actually on Kickstarter right now. So we've gone through that experience. We went live just a couple weeks ago. We're already up to almost $60,000 and close to 300 backers. And that puts us in about the 87th percentile already of those Kickstarter campaigns that have been successful. So you consider the unsuccessful ones who were much harder than that. But nevertheless, we've got a long way to go to hit our goal of $300,000. And we set that goal for a lot of reasons, which I can explain later. But we need help going online to Kickstarter. You go Kickstarter.com and you look at free Wavz. You just do a search on free Wavz and you'll find us. You can support us anywhere from $1 up to the reward level is $5, and you can pre-order the device at $179 for a set, and the manufacturer suggests retail is going to be $299 for all built-in fitness device. So that's really what I wanted to leave you with. Was I close to 6 minutes? Any questions, comments?
If you have a question, please raise your hand so someone can bring you a microphone.
The timer gets us for sure.
Good morning. So, as somebody looking to potentially launch a Kickstarter fairly soon, I wonder if you could walk through your process, your pre-Kickstarter, how you came up with your number, what kind of pre-marketing you did before you launched.
A lot of preparation, as I think most people know, goes into setting up for a Kickstarter campaign. You've got to have a complete team that's committed to help you get there. You've got to have everybody's got to do their part. You've got a video that's very complex to be able to produce. You've got to have the associations with the people who can help you with produce a good quality video. You've got to have the readers that will give you independent, objective information. You've got to do your press releases beforehand and do your meetings. We went out to San Francisco and spent a week getting press releases out there. We're still waiting for some big hits, but we've gotten coverage by over 20 different press outlets so far. That's very important to do. You've got to make sure you've got coverage and the team committed to support it, because you've got to be entirely responsive during the process. Anytime you get a comment in, they expect responses very quickly. So, it takes at least a month, probably plan on 5-6 weeks, and there will be a lot of those that actually want to see a lot of the press where you get your leverage and you get your broad reach and coverage, that want to actually see a prototype. So that's why we went out to San Francisco. And there's a lot of campaigns on Kickstarter where it's more creative art and so on. You don't necessarily have to have something working. But in the area of technology, what we found is, while the Kickstarter by definition is to help you get to release of the product and finish development, you really need to have something concrete to show. And so you really have to have a product, at least a prototype. Obviously, what we were doing, we had a working prototype. It's not in final form factor. It looks like the one in the middle there. The final one, and I can go into a whole lot about Kickstarter and what you can and can't present on Kickstarter, but you have to have that final design, and you've got to show them what it will look like and will operate like. So while it doesn't have to be a final production quality, because that's why you're raising the money to get the tools and molds, you've got to have basically a working unit is what we've experienced.
And the number?
Oh, the number, getting to 300,000. So we looked at another campaign out there. One of the ones that was on the competitor board was Dash, and they went out at $260,000 goal, and they raised $3.4 million. So what launched them was on about their third or fourth day, they hit TechCrunch, and it just exploded from there. We are still in talks with TechCrunch and hoping to get coverage to launch us, but we also looked at, for setting the dollar amount, not only what others had done, but we looked at what we needed to do. If you consider the cost of the product that you've got to ship, you consider that Kickstarter gets 5%, Amazon Payments gets up to close to 5%, so figure 10% there. What did we need to actually be able to produce the products that we were committing to deliver to our customers? So we put all that together, and that led us to that number.
Anybody else with a question? No. First of all, I want to say I love your product.
Thank you.
Just a quick question about maybe sweat. I sweat a lot when I work out.
Yeah.
The problem having this when I work out. The headphones, they'll be good for a couple weeks, but after sweating so many times working out, the music sounds a little diluted, a little
Right.
watered down. So, do you guys have a sweat proof?
It is.
Okay.
Yes, and that's a very common question, thank you. It's sweat and water resistance. We're completely rubber overmolded over the whole thing, so it's sealed up. The only point of potential exposure is on the very bottom of the unit where we have a micro USB port, and we have that for purposes of charging, but also to be able to upload software, new features as we go along. But that's got a rubber seal on it, so it is totally enclosed for sweat and water resistance. Yeah, because we do hear that a lot.
Kind of a two-part question. How did you decide on your price point? And how do you feel that price point positions you against the competition in the market, defining the competition broadly as any other fitness device?
Right. So it was a result of studying the competitors out there. We looked at what Dash went out at, because they have a very similar feature set to what we're doing, same target market, and they were priced just before we even saw their Kickstarter campaign. We were priced, we set our target at the same $299 price, and that's what they came out with. So it just kind of validated to us, and we looked at their results and who was buying at the 179 level, the 199 level, the 239 level. We looked at other fitness wearable devices that are out there and what they're priced at. We looked at premium headphones and what they're priced at, and that led us up to that $250 to $300 range. And we're setting $299 with the expectation that we'll do discounts, we'll do promotions, and ultimately end up at about a $240, $250 type of price point. So it was through the competitive analysis and to doing our own marketing testing, where we went out and we asked people what they would pay. Again, we engaged UCF, they helped us with that. One of the marketing professors has been a great supporter of ours. So we got direct market feedback too. If you were to combine a great set of headphones with all of our feature set, what would you look at paying? And the numbers were coming back in that range. So it kind of validated it. Yes?
No, hold on, there's a question right there.
Okay.
Good morning.
Hi.
Can each of your headsets be set individually if you have a hearing deficiency?
Yes, they can. Thank you. It's, in the amount of time, I couldn't go through all the features because we've got a lot, but they do have independent equalizers in both the left and right ear. So you can set 6 frequency ranges. And this comes from the ENT doctor's background, where he experienced that with many of his patients, where they had, very commonly, we have different hearing in each ear. And so you can actually compensate for that in each of the 6 frequency range separately, left and right ear. And it becomes actually a hearing enhancement device, not only for music, but for listening to your surroundings as well. We don't call it a hearing aid, it's not a medical device, but it does have hearing compensation.
How many decibels of boost can you provide?
Oh, you can, I don't know that answer offhand, sorry, but it's, I know the doctor said he can get it up to within standard range for just about any wearer that's got a deficiency of, obviously some level of hearing capability, basic hearing capability. He can adjust that up to the operating level of hearing sustainability.
There's a question right there.
Yeah.
So do I understand you correctly that the free Wavz will also interface with the actual phone feature on phone, like
Correct.
phone calls and talk on?
Yeah, so you actually have an app on the phone where you would preset your profile, or your activities. So you might have a different setting for your gym workouts versus your when you're out biking or running, whatever it might be. You would set how frequently you want to have information reported to you, like heart rate. You might want it every 10 beats per minute. You might want it when you every 10 minutes or 5 minutes. You might want it when you hit a certain range. You've got your goal range of 130 to 150. It'll tell you when you hit 130. It'll tell you when you go over 150, so you can stay within that range. So on the app, you actually would preset what you want to have announced, because there's a lot of fitness metrics. It could feed you, but you also don't want it constantly interrupting your music. So you set which ones of those metrics you want to have announced and how frequently you want to have it. So you get the information you want when you want it. And then also you adjust that listen through, because if you're in the gym, you'd be probably 100% immersed in your music. Whereas if you're out biking, you probably want to keep your left ear primarily open to hear traffic. So you would have that preset. So then when you go to work out, you just hit that profile, I'm going biking, and it automatically sets the listen through, and it sets the timing of the announcements and which metrics get announced to you. Yeah.
Do you have any IP around the device? And
Yeah.
what's your product plan moving forward, kind of life after Kickstarter, either vertical or horizontal?
Yeah, we do have IP. We filed for a patent back in 2010, and we filed an amendment last year, and we expect to get response in time. We had to talk with the examiner. We believe we will get that approved because we talked about what the amendments were going to address in terms of their concerns, and they didn't see any issues in issuing the patent. So we do have patent protection. We've got a trademark on the name. We've got a couple design patents already issued.
And then future products?
Future products? Yeah, so it's, you know, our roadmap is pretty vast. We're focused right now on the fitness market. I mean, you know, just with the management of our funding, we want to focus on what we think is the market that will be most attractive to the product and leverage that and the profits from that to be able to expand into other markets, like I've shown, the education market, the military market, healthcare. There's a lot of directions we can go in continuing to advance this product, making, you know, just adding features for benefit of the fitness people as well as expanding into other markets. So, you know, initially though, entirely focused on fitness.
One last question. Natalie, my side is crushing your side.
I know. I really didn't have coffee yet.
Yeah, apparently so.
Probably doing that.
Last question.
Great product and everything. When I initially checked you guys out, I was a little confused on your logo and why there was a wave and water associated.
Yeah.
Is there any feedback on that?
You know, that has been something we've debated quite a while. We like the name. Obviously, the FreeWaves name is the freedom from wires. Obviously, we're riding airwaves. They say the wave came in kind of as a feature for being where we are in Florida around the beach and just kind of having that cool logo that we thought people would be attracted to. So, yeah, it's a challenge. We've debated it many times in the font and everything. It's one of the hardest things we've done, actually, is come up with a brand name.
So before we close the presentation, obviously you have a fairly sizable ask. You want us to go out there and support you on Kickstarter. Is that the main thing? Share the word, spread the word, let people know?
Yeah, we very much appreciate that. Any following, you can find us on social media. You know, if you go to Facebook and you look at FreeWaves or Twitter, you'd see that we've got a pretty good following that's building out there. And a lot of people are getting the word out for us. So yes, please help us spread the word. This is a company we plan to grow here in Central Florida. We plan to manufacture, at least initially from a quality control standpoint, we hope for a longer term, manufacture in this area and make it made in the USA. At least the initial production rounds of units will be made here. And we hope to keep that here for a long time. So yeah, and we would very much appreciate your support, whatever level you can do.
Thank you very much. So, as we're setting up for the next presenter, a few things that I want to share with you guys. Again, this is a community event, helped and assisted by a group of volunteers. Right here, we have Alex, who is helping out and stepping up to the plate. Shay sitting over there. Shay, raise your hand so people know. If you haven't met Shay yet, make sure you go and say hi. Same thing, Natalie. Wave your hand. Thank you very much. And David, of course. And for those who don't know, I'm Ron. I'm also one of the organizers. Continue to tweet and help out. We're, you know, all the sponsors, all the people that are helping out. I want to bring something up. This weekend, we're hosting a startup weekend event at Valencia College. It's a startup weekend EDU for education-based innovation. So if you don't know what that is, you have some questions, please come and find me. I'm one of the organizers, and I'll be happy to share and tell you more about it. It's a weekend-long opportunity to meet and talk to people within the education space and share with them what your passion and try to find innovation through entrepreneurship on the education space. So please find me, and I just saw Auret is here, so make sure you talk to Auret or Sarah as well, also one of the organizers. So without any further ado, we're going to bring up our next presenter. Let's give him now we're ready with the camera? All right, perfect. Let's go.
Good morning. My name is Shahier, Rahman, and I'm here to tell you about my company. So first of all, I just want to get something straight. This is not a pitch. I learned something from a lady at the UCF Entrepreneurship Lab named Caroline Geitz. Some of you may have known her. She taught me one of the first lessons that you don't pitch people because pitching means you're going to strike out. You want to send a boomerang, which means I'm going to throw this idea out at you all, and then during question and comments, I'd like for you to give me your ideas and questions and throw it back at me. So, what am I here for? Well, let's watch this fancy video, or not so fancy video. My name is Shahier. I have $40,000 in student loan debt. The second thing I want to tell you is I have a bottle of water. I can sell this bottle of water to you for $1. Would you buy it for $1? You'd buy it for $1 right now if you needed water. If you knew that the dollar you gave, instead of it going to my bank account, it went to go pay off my student loan, would you pay $1.25? Would you pay that extra 25 cents? Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Why? Why would you pay $1.25? And you don't pay that 25 cents extra? I send them to college and
Guess what? I'm still paying off student loans.
so you would pay $1.25 for this dollar if you knew it was going to go to student. Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much. The point of that video is this. Dream. Debt rules everything around me. That is a reality for millions of graduates and students in this country today. It's a reality because they went to school dreaming of an education that was going to get them everything they wanted and graduated with a nightmare called a student loan. It wasn't always like that. So, what does dream mean? Dream means get the money, dollar bills, y'all. It's an old Wu-Tang Clan reference. For those of you who remember the 90s, I'm a big fan, and that's where the name of the company comes from. So, what is Dream exactly? What exactly am I trying to talk to you about here? Dream is a web platform, an application, website, digital space designed to empower people to pay off the principal of their student loan debt as quickly as possible by any digital means necessary. All right, so what does that actually mean, or what the hell does that actually mean? It means this. Getting students to use something like this to pay back this. Now that is a still image. It's actually a link. I have it embedded to something called the student loan debt clock. If you get a chance when you're done here today, type in student loan debt clock on Google, and this number will pull up. Now this is a PowerPoint presentation, so this number is stationary. But that student loan debt clock is the active amount of debt being taken out by students every second of every day. Would anyone like to guess how much that is? Just shout out a number. It's $2,883 every second. And that number is 1.1 trillion now. I took that still image about 2 weeks ago. It's probably up to like 1.18 or 7. I don't know. It's an enormous amount of debt. And every single day, every single second, there are students clicking yes, 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 yes to student loans without thinking about the consequence of what that means. Right. So all this sounds exactly like who was supposed to build an application to help students figure out how to pay back their student loans and what to do when they go to pay back their student loans, right? Who was supposed to make this app? This guy. This guy is the one who gave out the money. Now the federal government gives out most of the student loans in this country. I know, I was a recipient of them. They're great at giving out money. You know what they're bad at, what they're terrible at? Making applications and collecting the money that's owed to them. So what do? They hire out what I like to call the 4 horsemen of debt apocalypse. These guys. It's Nelnet, Fedloan, Sallie Mae, and FIA. These are the 4 companies that control student loan payment processing in this country. They control about $60 billion in funds being transferred every day. But the more important thing is there's only 4 of them. Would anyone like to guess which one of these 4 or how many of these 4 actually have apps? Nelnet. Fedloan, Sallie Mae, FIA do not. Somebody told me FIA is making one now, but I'll tell you this. I've used the Nelnet app. It is terrible. It is absolutely terrible. It won't tell you what the impact of your student loan payment is. It won't tell you how much of a financial impact it takes for the rest of your life. But most importantly, it won't let you pay your debt at every second of every day when a transaction happens between 2 people. Because the fact of the matter is, there are students every day who are doing gigs, right, in a gig economy, for small change, sometimes for a few $100s, $200-300 here and there. They put that money into their bank account and then they write a check once a month to their student loan payment, if they even do that much, right? But what they don't do is they don't connect everyday transactions to paying off student loans. That is what our application will do. So what it means is that anytime a student does a gig, they design something for you, or they create something for you, or they create a website, or they walk your dog, and you go to pay them. If you use our application, fingers crossed, when that money goes through, it will go directly to one of these guys, because they collect the money, right? So, how do you get the 4 horsemen to take the money? Right now, you send them a check. Now, you can send them an electronic direct payment from your bank. Some people do this already. Well, that's pretty much what we're going to do. But instead of waiting on a month-to-month basis, we want students to pay instantly. Well, why would you want to pay that instantly? The reason why is, oh my God, I'm so like over time. All right, so the reason you want to pay it instantly is because the amount of time you pay it now versus the time it takes to pay it on the due date is the amount of time you save in interest. So we'll send it directly to their bank accounts, or we'll hold it in escrow until the due date. I'm going to try and go as quickly as possible, right? So what do we need? What is the ask? The ask is we need people. Right now, it's just me and one other guy. We need developers, designers. We need developers and designers. We need money, dollar bills, y'all. We have a Kickstarter campaign. We'd love for you to donate to that campaign. And we also need some angel investors. If anyone here has a check they'd like to write me and they can burn that check afterwards, please come talk to me after this. But most importantly, what we need is this. All of you can do this for me today. When I go to these kinds of events, I always talk to people, and one of the first questions I ask them is, how did you pay for your education? And every single person gives me a unique, interestingly beautiful story. Sometimes it's an agonizing story when they tell it to me. But this isn't how education used to be funded. A lot of people used to work when they were in college, and they still do. But because loans are so easy to get now, most students don't even think about it. So if you have a story, if you can tell me from 300 to 500 words how it is that you pay off your debt for student loans or how you pay for college, tell me. I want to share that story on our website and our blog. I will sell this app like my life depended on it because it does. That's me. I'm supposed to be in law school right now. Since the age of 9th grade, all I've ever wanted to do was be a lawyer. I've done everything I can. I've gone to every single competition, won every award. I've worked on campaigns. I've worked for lawyers. I worked for law firms. I did every single thing I could to be a lawyer until the day it came time for me to figure out how I was going to pay for law school. And I realized if I took out more and more loans, I would not be the kind of lawyer I wanted to be. I would be a lawyer who was a debt slave, not a real lawyer. I would take the first paycheck that came to me because I wouldn't care. My morality would be skewed. That is not the kind of lawyer I want to be. I want to be a debt-free lawyer. I'll walk into law school again with that in mind, because my life depends on it. So that's it. That's my dream. What is yours?
Right here in the front.
Great presentation, by the way. Funny, I was actually sitting down discussing something with someone about doing something similar to this. Like, if you need any help,
please, dude. I think we're already on LinkedIn, right? So let's get phone numbers straight.
Yeah, and I guess so you say that as soon as you make the payment, like if they bought that bottle or whatever, go straight to Sallie Mae and the banks.
Right. So ideally, we want it to go straight to Sally Mae's bank account. Sometimes these companies are very wary of receiving payments instantly. They like their on the 15th payment, right? Sometimes they don't want it that way. But what we want to do is take the money out of the student's hands. It's very easy when you have cash in your bank account to recycle that money for unnecessary things. I know, I'm very much a victim of this problem. But if we tell students, hey, when we take that money from you, it's going to go to your loan, we're going to reflect that payment instantly on the platform. So just like you saw that student loan debt clock I showed you earlier, for every profile on Dream, we have a clock showing the student what their debt is doing every second. It's a clock that's always ticking, right? Because that's what interest does to your loan. And anytime you make a payment, we'll have it go in reverse. Click, 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 click backwards. And we'll tell you how many days it will take you, how many days closer it will take you to get to debt freedom.
Right here.
I think it's a great idea, and I've used the Nailnet application.
Can you just give a little testimonial of
It's
that?
absolutely horrible. You can't even see, like, I mean, it's hard to see the whole total picture.
Yeah.
But what I'm interested in finding out is how you're going to get students to understand the importance of paying back. Because that's, people say, oh, I have this debt, but they're like, oh, it's student debt.
I know.
How can you get the interest to say, hey, I'm going to take the time to make sure I can pay this off? And then the second question is, can you split a payment? If I want to pay you $50, but I want to pay $25 to your debt, can you split that?
Yes to that second part of the question, but more importantly to your first part, how do you convince kids that they need to start paying back their student loan? I'll tell you, it's one of those issues that doesn't become reality until the day you graduate. Right? And I want to go, and that's part of why one of my asks is for you to share your stories. Because one of the most important things is to convince kids who are in college today that this is not free money. I know it's obvious to all you Rollins business people in here that loans aren't free money. You'd be surprised how dumb 18-year-olds are. I was one of them, right? When I walked into college, when I walked into FSU, I had a scholarship. I had a bright future scholarship. I took out loans only because the guy at the counter told me if I clicked here, I get $2,800 in my bank account right now. What 18-year-old isn't making that click every single second of every day, right? I'll show you that debt clock. It's happening. What I want to do is I want to get in front of their face and I want to tell them, look, that dollar you're taking out now is actually $6 when you're going to need it 3-4 years from now. And I'm going to show it to them when they get their profile. Because for every time they enter how much the principal of their loan is and how much the interest rate is on their loan, we're going to show them on their profile that number clicking. So every time they log in, it's going to be like, hey, my loan was at $10,000 this morning. It's already at like $10,008, $10,009, $10,010. I want it to be in front of their screen time, their face, that number clicking at all times. So they know, they go, at some point, I got to make that number go backwards, right? Awareness is key. And that's why the most important part of the ask here today is for any student you meet, right? Whether you're out and about and you talk to them, please tell them, for the love of God, when you take out a student loan, know what you're doing, right? It is one of the biggest crises that we have in this country, and there are some people who are trying to address it, but no one has addressed the existential nature of debt. People will claw on their hands and knees, commit murder. They will do so many things when debt becomes a burden, when it becomes a constricting life force. If we can give them that awareness the day they walk into college, I want this app to be in kids the day they walk into college, not after they graduate. If we can give them that awareness, get in front of their face, hear testimonials from people like you. Oh my God, I just hit something. I'm sorry. Hear from people like you. That's how we get them to realize that. That's how we get them to realize it.
All right, that's a great pitch, Boomerang. You need to go back to law school because I can see the lawyer in you right here in front of you.
I don't know. Every lawyer I've talked to said, nah, man, don't be a lawyer. That's not that.
The question is how does Dream make their dollar bills? How do you get money in your pocket?
Of course.
We're taking 25 cents off of a water bottle.
What's our cut, right? Okay, I got you. All right, so that's one of the reasons I had the video at the beginning, right? What I've come to find, most decent people, if you confront them with an economic choice, which is this, decent, I very much qualify that with the word decent, right? Is that if you confront them with an economic choice and you go, hey, look, I'll do this job for you for $90 if you give it to me, right? And we'll go straight to my bank account. Or would you give me $100 if you knew that it was going to go directly to my student loan? Most people who have taken out a student loan, who finance their education, understand what that need is. So whatever premium we have to charge, right, to make that transaction happen, and that premium is going to be very much dependent on the payment processor that we use. And I'm in talks with PayPal and Square. I'm trying to find the best one. If anyone can give me some advice on that today, that'd be great. Whatever premium that is, if we tell them about that premium up front, if we tell them, look, the cost of it is $90, but to send it directly to my student loan right now might be $93.50 or $95, would you be willing to pay that extra premium? I don't know, you guys are business people, maybe you're thinking to yourself, I won't pay that extra $3, screw that kid. But there are some people out there, right? There are some people, decent people out there who will go, all right, I'll pay the $3 extra if you can guarantee me that you're not just going to go spend that on weed, women, and wine, right? Like, if you can prove that it's going to go directly to your student loan, they'll pay that premium. And that's how we're going to make our money. We're going to make our money because every transaction that happens has to go through a transaction portal. And we're going to take a percentage. That percentage will always be less than the amount of interest you're paying on your loan for sure. We're not trying to charge 6-7% here. We'll take a small cut and we'll figure out what that cut is. But it's going to be very much because it costs money to send money through electronic portals, right? And that's where we'll take a cut. The most important factor I want to make is that when we're making this financial decision, when we're putting this proposition in front of people, we want to make it very clear, please don't make the student have to take the burden of that cost of sending it to their student loan processor, right? If you can afford to pay that extra 25 cents, do it, because you know it's going to get this kid to be debt-free. And I'll tell you, debt-free people buy stuff, right? If you have a company that sells things, find debt-free students, find debt-free people, they'll buy stuff, right? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get as many kids to be debt-free as possible.
The question right here.
I had a similar idea, and basically,
Dude, come talk.
it's a great idea. One opportunity I was trying to think of as we were talking was, is there a way to basically make prepay, start funding their college before then, in the system to have money before then?
I love that idea. There's a lot of prepay programs out there already. There's Florida Prepay. I think that's one. There's all these banks now that set up like little prepay programs. That's fine. I'm totally for that if we want to set up that. To me, it's not as much of a problem prepaying for college as for the people who need to post-pay, right? Like getting out of school, they need to start paying now. Those are the people we're really trying to go after, only because it's critical for them, right? Every dollar that you pay into your debt is very different from a dollar you put into your bank account. Because student loans are not bankruptable. I don't know if any of you know this, but you can bankrupt your way out of a mortgage. You can bankrupt your way out of a car payment. You can bankrupt your way out of credit cards. You cannot bankrupt your way out of student loans. They will follow you until you die. And even after you die, they'll come after your parents. It's the one loan you will not get off your books. That's why the response to every student loan crisis is refinance. Turn that 10-year loan into a 40-year loan. Right? That's what they tell kids every single day. Don't worry about it. Wait till you can pay it back. Take your time. It is crippling.
I definitely applaud the responsibility that you've taken. I really understand that I probably have a very major parent flaw. I have identical twin boys. One that goes to NYU and the other one goes to Penn State. So I'm thinking about paying for their bills. It's all coming back to dad.
Yeah.
Mom, right?
Yeah.
So the question is really about the marketing.
Yeah.
Who is your actual target? Will you target the students to be paying this? Will you target the parents or some type of combination? Or what are your thoughts about the
Right. So parents, right, you understand this perfectly. I mean, I don't have to pitch this to you, right? Like you understand the meaning of debt. Anybody who has even a semblance of financial literacy, and if by the time you're an adult you have that, it's really kind of, not, I want to say worthless, but I don't need to explain the concept of debt, right? Being smart about debt to adults. I have to explain this to students. So I'm going to market this to students and recent graduates, people who are just walking out now, who are telling themselves, hey, listen, I can hold off on those payments maybe. They're telling me I can, right? Because the student loan companies, because it's a guaranteed federally backed loan, they have no incentive for you to pay it back fast, right? They want to keep that loan on the books for as long as possible. I have to market it to students. And the awareness thing is the reason why. Because for every student who doesn't understand the concept of what their debt is doing every second of every day is a student who's going to be crippled by that debt for the rest of their life. Mom and dad already know this. And if you're the type of mom and dad who's already helping your kid out, maybe you talk to them about it, maybe you don't. But I'll tell you, there are lots of kids out there whose mom and dads are not talking to them about this. And those are the kids that I'm going to go after. Those are the people I want to market it to. Right? And right now, I'll tell you, Central Florida is a great place. 60,000 kids at UCF, another 10, 15,000 over at Full Sail. I don't know how many people go to Rollins, but this is ground zero for where we're going to market test this thing.
Yeah, no, certainly no offense intended, but
No, please.
I don't know you. Why should a businessman want to help you pay off your student loans?
Right.
But I wouldn't necessarily want you to help you pay off your student loans, but I would definitely want to help my nephew or my sons
Right.
or something. So can you specify whose student loan your money goes to?
Absolutely. Right. So you said something in the beginning of your sentence that I just want to correct. Right. I'm not asking for charity. This isn't a non-profit, right? Like, this is not like give kids money so they can pay their student loan. They're going to be doing stuff for you, right? This is services and goods, right? If they're doing a web design product, if they're helping you market something, they're going to have to provide you a skill. This is not charity. So when you say, like, why should I as a business person help a kid pay a student loan? It's because they're doing something for you. You're going to be paying them anyway. The difference here is that economic decision. Should that money go to their bank account, or should it go to pay off their student loan? That's what we want to go to the student loan instead of the bank account, because we're trying to get them to be debt-free. More importantly, this is going to be a profile set up by the students. And we're going to get them to use their social network, online and in real life, to leverage that network to pay it off. So your nieces and nephews, right? Maybe during Christmas you give them $100 in an envelope, right? Maybe on their birthday you give them some cash, right? It's nice to do stuff like that. But if I could convince you, if I could sit there and show you, if your niece and nephew came to you and said, look, uncle, grandpa, mom, dad, neighbor, instead of giving me that $100 cash, if I showed you what that $100 could do on my dream, that if you were to put this onto my phone, if you were to pay this into my dream account, that $100 you gave me actually means like $150 when I need it a few years from now. I won't be able to have it because I'm in debt. Would you give that to me instead? I think most of you who are responsible adults in this would probably go, yeah, all right, well, if I'm giving you $100, right, I'd much rather it go towards something much more meaningful, like getting you to be debt-free, than to whatever frivolous thing that kids are going to spend their money on.
The question right here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I see the cause side of this and cause marketing side. There's a viral network side to this too. I don't believe there's such thing as chance. I've got a thought here. Yes, please. And a plus. The thought is, not by chance, 4 days ago, somebody that I had a good relationship with, who was the president of the secondary school administrators, reconnects with me on LinkedIn. I went, when did we disconnect? That happens on LinkedIn. But bottom line, where I'm going with it is, she would be great for you, even if she's not the president now. She can connect you to them.
Yeah.
Because if you went to the secondary school administrators, and they can now go viral into the student bodies, and the student body's aware of what you've got. That's one way to market from that side of it. Really, there's another thought here about the app itself. Can't this take you into paying off medical bills? Can't this take you into,
right.
Okay?
So that is a great point. Yes, right. Debt is ubiquitous, right? Doesn't matter what you do it for. You could theoretically use this to pay back car loans, pay back mortgages. That is my dream, my ultimate dream. One day, if I can get big enough so I can start paying that stuff back, yes. I have to go students first, and here's why. One, it's my core demographic, right? 18 to 35-year-olds, the number one loan on their books is not a mortgage. It's not a car. It's not credit cards. The number one loan on their books is student loans. The average student loan in this country is $29,800. The average loan payment each month is around $90 a month, right? So although I would love to go to them, hey, you can use this to pay back your credit card or mortgage, I don't want to do that only because the largest loan on their books is student loans, but more importantly, for those students who have student loans, that's the loan that's going to cripple them more than any of the others. Because like I told you earlier, those other loans that you have, if, God forbid, if something happens and you can't pay your other mortgages, your car payment, you can go to a bankruptcy judge and say, hey, look, this is my life right now, I can't pay it, right? You can't do that with student loans. You can't. You can't go to Nelnet and FIA and just say, look, I can't make payments anymore. They'll turn around and they'll say, well, yeah, that 10-year loan you had, we're just going to turn that into a 40-year loan. right? And we'll milk you for interest. Most people think to themselves like, oh man, refinancing, I'm so getting like, I'm gonna have to pay 40 bucks a month. 40 bucks a month for the rest of your life almost, right? That 40 bucks a month is going to cripple you when you need it later. So although yes, one day my dream is to use this application to pay back everything, one of my little quirky dreams is to have a little thing right underneath the tip jar where the line on the tip on your receipts where you can leave a tip. I'd like for it to say dream next to it because every waiter and wait staff that I know, they have like tons of loans. I'd love for you to leave a little tip that goes directly to the loan. I'd love to get there. We're not there yet. I have to capture what I can capture now, which is 18 to 30-year-olds, and the number one loan on their books is student loans. So yes, sir, hopefully one day I get there. But for today, student loans are all I care about and all I'm dreaming about.
I have a child in college and one going in a year. So far, we don't have any student loan debt.
Oh, good for you.
But that prospect looms when my daughter wants to go to a $50,000 a year school. Have you thought about putting a simulator on there so that the children can, or the people your age can put in, hey, what if I took out this loan, what would it do to me?
Let me show you something. So, all right, so these are some of the competitors that I have, right? So this is tuition.io. It's a company that's the greatest graph makers on the planet. If you go to their website and you type in what you just told me now, it'll give you really cool graphs showing you exactly what the financial impact of it is. What they don't do is show you real-time financial impact, right? So it can show you theoretically what your loan's going to do over a lifetime. But if, let's say, I just put in $100 right now to my loan, what does that mean for me? These guys don't do it, right? That is what our app is going to do. As soon as, right, when you say the simulator, as soon as your daughter goes to pay for her loan, when she's out and about at a bookstore or somebody pays her for doing something, if she types in there going like, if I pay $100 right now, what's that going to mean? It's going to mean that it's going to get me this many days closer to being debt-free. It's going to reduce my interest payments by this much. All that will appear in front of her face instantly. Right.
I'm actually talking about encouraging students not to take out loans by.
Oh, encourage that. Yeah. So, you know, it's tough, right? I'll tell you this. Like, I want to tell kids not to take out loans. That's my first advice to them, is try to pay for as much of your education with as least money as possible, a grant, scholarship. Some people just don't have that ability. They need loans to survive. But most importantly, what they don't realize is that loans can't be the only thing sustaining them when they're in college. People used to work. Like, and I say used to, most people, when I talk to my parents' generation, I ask them, like, how did you pay for college? And I'd be like, I bicycled and did deliveries and stuff like that. Today, because of how easy it is to get a student loan, most kids are just like, whatever, I don't really need to work when I'm in college anymore, because I'll get that money guaranteed to me. They're so great about giving out money in college. They're just dying to give it to you, right? Because they know that you're going to want it, and they know that the cost of tuition is going up so much. The cost of living goes up as much as well. So although I want to tell kids not to take out loans, what I want them to do is realize what the financial impact of those loans are, more importantly than to tell them, no, don't do it. So I'm not about to step in front of some kid and say, don't take out a loan. If they need the loan to go to college, yeah, take it out. Just know that number is not stationary. Just because you took out a $10,000 loan doesn't mean that it's going to remain $10,000 when you graduate. It's going to turn into $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 when you're going to need that money, which is when you're done with college. So I want them to understand that as soon as they walk in. Maybe if they look at the profile and they go, hey man, if I took out another $3,000, it's going to be like really crippling. Maybe I shouldn't do it. I'll find some other way to finance it. That's a decision up for the student. I just want them to understand once they've already taken out the loan, what it means if they don't start chipping back at it, slowly but surely.
There's a last question right here.
Yes.
Okay, first, I love your energy and passion. And
thank you. That's what that does to you, is your energy and passion.
Well, and as a student at Illinois, I completely understand this debt and student loans 100%. What about, and you can talk about odd jobs that people do, what if they have a real job?
Okay, yes.
And then the second question is, what about, you mentioned the 4 top, what about like Great Lakes or American Education Services, the other ones that are smaller?
Right.
Can you direct them there too?
Yeah, so the reason I picked on the 4 I talked to up there is because they are the whales in this industry. There are about another 20 to 24 other smaller loan companies, Most of them do private financing for graduate schools and things like that. Yes, right. So the thing about it is you can send a payment anywhere. They can't ever go, no, we're not taking your money. Right? They have to take the money. So all it is we just figure out what loan company you're tied up with and send them a check in your name or send them the payment in your name. That's how we would send it to all those companies that aren't the big four. But more importantly, I think the first part of your question was being a student. Could you say, what was the first part of your question? Yes, that's what I wanted to say. So now, how many of you have 401k plans in your work? Raise a hand, anyone? All right, so some 401 retirement plans. All right, when I was interviewing for some jobs, and one of the perks that people asked me was like, oh man, we've got a great 401k plan. I literally wanted to like turn to the recruiter and go, well, do you have like can I just get that dollar matching thing for my student loan like right now? Because I'll tell you, I don't know if I'm going to be living till I'm 60. I don't know. I hope I am, right? But who knows? I live a wild lifestyle. Maybe. But the point being is just like, if I want to go to employers, I'm going to go to employers and I'm going to say, look, you're paying your employees, right? Why don't you tell them that whatever incentive process they have for 401k plans or other kinds of financial incentives to recruit people, if you were to just take that dollar instead of putting it into some retirement account that they may or may not need one day in the future, if you could just use that same dollar to pay back your student loan to create a dream account, right, and send that money to Dream, would you be willing to do that, right? That is what I want to do with people who already have jobs. Now, one of the functions on our application is anytime somebody makes a payment, that payment is reflected on the platform. So it will show, right? So for an example, what's the company you work for? Coldwell. So let's say Coldwell Banker pays you, right? Pays your salary. When you get your money every week or whatever, we're going to show on that platform, Coldwell Banker just paid me, right, this much dollars for my loan. It got me this many days closer to debt freedom. We want your social network and your people who care about this to know how exactly it was that you paid back your loan, right? What you did, all those little things that you did to slowly chip away at that mountain of debt. Because one day, you're going to go apply for what I like to call the real life loans, which are mortgages and car payments, right? And when you go to those people, the first thing they ask you is, what's your financial history? Maybe you can give them some opaque algorithm that is quote-unquote your credit score, or you can show them our profile that shows, take a look at all of the different things I did to hustle to pay off this debt. You can trust me with a mortgage. Right? That is one of the goals of our company. So thank you so much for that question. Thank you all so much. The last thing, I don't know if I have time, but I just wanted to show you, there's never mind, I guess I can't. I have a little profile that it's me and my co-founder, Marcus. Marcus is a veteran. He also is a developer, and he's helping me put this thing together. He unfortunately couldn't make it because he still lives in Tallahassee and couldn't get down here in time. But it's just us two, and I have a contact page. If I can get to it, sorry. So if you all are taking notes, it's my email, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and we're going to do a Kickstarter campaign at the end of the month. I'll send out a blast to whoever is interested. Please help us out. The that I have today is if you have strategies for dealing with debt, and you can tell me the story of how you paid for your education, there are kids who need to hear those stories now so that they don't feel like it's impossible, right? It is possible, they just don't know it yet. And we want to put that in front of their face and tell them. So if you can help me out with that, that would be the greatest thing you could do. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Rahman.
Thank you very much. So, I know everybody is very sad we came to the end of another amazing 1 Million Cups event. Our ask for you guys is to go back out on social media, tell the story, tell that you've been here, bring friends, encourage companies to come and apply, because we want to hear your stories. We want to be able to come out and support you and help you out in any way, shape, or form. By all means, please hang out. It's cooler here, but no coffee. There's coffee outside, but it's hotter, so whatever you decide is fine. But again, thank you for coming. See you next week.
Don't forget to